A billionaire can walk into Hermes with unlimited money and still leave without a Birkin, not because they cannot afford it, because money is not the only price. In most luxury stores, wealth opens the door. A black card, a private appointment, a quiet room, a beautiful object waiting under soft light. But the Birkin plays by different rules. It is not sold like an ordinary handbag. It is not treated like a simple product on a shelf. And that is exactly why it became one of the most desired objects in the world. The Birkin is not powerful only because it is expensive. It is powerful because even extreme wealth does not guarantee access. In the world of true luxury, the product is not always the object. Sometimes, the real product is permission. For most people, billionaires represent the highest level of access. They can buy homes no one sees, cars no one drives, art no one touches, islands no one visits. Their world is built on immediate entry. A door closes for everyone else and opens for them. But that is what makes the Birkin so fascinating. Because here is a luxury object that quietly interrupts the usual logic of wealth. You may have the money, you may have the desire, you may even have the status, but you may still not walk out with the bag. That contradiction is the beginning of the myth. Because the Birkin does something few products can do. It makes wealth feel like it still has to wait. At first glance, a Birkin is a handbag. Beautiful leather, careful stitching, elegant shape, quiet structure, but luxury is rarely about first glance. The most powerful luxury objects become powerful because of the story built around them. A watch becomes a milestone, a coat becomes a signal of taste, a car becomes proof of arrival, and a handbag becomes something else entirely. The Birkin did not become legendary simply because it was expensive. Many things are expensive. It became legendary because it was wrapped in rarity, patience, craftsmanship, and mystery. Over time, it moved beyond fashion. It became a social symbol, not just something you carry, something that carries meaning for you. The Birkin became less of a bag and more of a quiet announcement, a message without a logo shouting across the room. A symbol that says, I did not just buy this, I was allowed to have it. Human desire is not perfectly logical. We do not only want what is useful, we want what feels rare, what feels distant, what feels just out of reach. Scarcity changes the way the mind sees value. When something is easy to get, it becomes a transaction. When something is difficult to get, it becomes a pursuit. And pursuit gives an object emotional weight. This is why limited access can be more powerful than loud advertising. A brand does not always need to say, look at us. Sometimes it only needs to say, not everyone. Those two words are incredibly powerful because once something is not for everyone, people begin to wonder what kind of person it is for. And that question creates desire. The harder something is to reach, the more the mind begins to believe it must be worth reaching for. Part of the Birkin's power comes from the mystery around how one gets it. People talk about waiting, about loyalty, about timing, about relationships, about being known by the boutique. Some believe it is about purchase history, some believe it is about patience, some believe it is about luck. But the most powerful part is not just the rule. It is the fact that the rule is not fully visible. Visible rules can be understood. Invisible rules become obsession. When people do not know exactly how the door opens, they study the door. They watch, they listen, they compare stories, they search for patterns, and slowly, the buying process becomes part of the luxury experience itself. The bag is no longer just the reward. The journey becomes part of the status. Because in this world, access is not only about having money, it is about being recognized. Most brands are afraid of rejection. They want fewer barriers, faster checkouts, easier access, more availability. But the most powerful luxury brands understand something deeper. Friction can create meaning, waiting can create desire, and rejection can make approval feel more valuable. When a customer is told no, the object does not always lose value. Sometimes it gains emotional power. Because now the product is not simply expensive, it is selective, and selectivity changes everything. To buy something is one thing, to be offered something is another. That small difference turns a transaction into a privilege, and privilege is one of the oldest languages of luxury. This is the genius of the Birkin. It does not simply ask, can you afford me? It quietly asks something more powerful. Are you the kind of person who gets offered this? Quiet luxury is often misunderstood. People think it means simple clothing, neutral colors, and no logos. But quiet luxury is not quiet because it has nothing to say. It is quiet because it is speaking to a smaller audience. The Birkin does not need to announce itself loudly. Its power is in recognition. To some people, it is just a bag. To others, it is a signal of taste, of access, of patience, of belonging to a world where the most important things are not always explained. That is the secret language of status. The louder the signal, the broader the audience. The quieter the signal, the more specific the recognition. This is why the Birkin fits so perfectly into the world of quiet luxury. It does not need to scream, it simply needs to be understood. So why would billionaires still want something they cannot instantly buy? Because when you can buy almost anything, the rarest feeling is anticipation. For people with unlimited access, waiting becomes unusual. Being told no becomes unusual. Not being in control becomes unusual. And that is exactly what makes the Birkin emotionally powerful. It gives even the wealthiest people an experience they do not often have. Uncertainty. Will they be offered one? When will it happen? Which color? Which leather? Which size? Which moment? Luxury is not always about removing difficulty. Sometimes, luxury is about designing difficulty so beautifully that people begin to desire the struggle. When you can buy almost anything, the thing you must wait for becomes the most powerful thing in the room. The Birkin is made of leather, but its power is made of something less visible. Scarcity, recognition, mystery, timing, approval. The price matters, the craftsmanship matters, the history matters. But none of those alone explain the obsession. The real genius is that Hermès made access feel more valuable than ownership, because anyone with enough money can buy an expensive object. But not every expensive object can make people feel chosen. That is why the Birkin remains more than a handbag. It is a mirror. It reflects not just wealth, but the human desire to be selected by something rare. So maybe the real question is not why billionaires cannot just buy a Birkin. Maybe the real question is why that makes them want it even more. Because in the world of true luxury, the ultimate status symbol is not what money can buy. It is what money must still wait for. The Birkin's power did not fade in the age of social media. If anything, it became more fascinating. Because today, almost everything is visible. Trends move fast. Logos rise and fall. Luxury pieces go viral, disappear, and return again. But the Birkin operates differently. It does not depend on a trend cycle. It does not need a loud campaign. It does not need to beg for attention. Its power comes from the feeling that it exists slightly outside the normal rules of shopping. A product becomes popular when many people want it. But a myth becomes powerful when many people want it and only a few can reach it. That is why the Birkin still lives in people's imagination, not just as a bag, but as a symbol of access in a world where access has become the ultimate luxury. So maybe the real question is not why billionaires cannot just buy a Birkin. Maybe the real question is why that makes them want it even more. Because in the world of true luxury, the ultimate status symbol is not what money can buy. It is what money must still wait for. And that is the quiet power of Hermès. It reminds us that luxury is not always about having more. Sometimes it is about being allowed closer. If this story made you see luxury differently, stay with Curio Hush, where we uncover the quiet stories behind the world's most powerful brands.